You are live, it says. Okay, that's great. Just bear with me as I kick off this Instagram live. Today, now machine. All right, I think we're good. Welcome to Unmuzzled Chat. Can we all challenge ourselves to get out of our own way? Let's take a look here. I just want to make sure everything went good here. And I'm kind of falling apart over here. Bear with me. I'm going to do my best. I can't allow the way I'm feeling to hinder showing up to whatever capacity I can here today. And the reality of this world around us today, as I look around, we are all truly not waking up fast enough. You do not have to take my word for it. We'll play even some of the clips of some of the elites, rulers, puppets. You could take them at their own word. There is a mass disconnect that we're not even willing for some reason to even acknowledge. The very threats that threaten our lives, our function, our spiritual connections, our children, and our loved ones, the direction of our country, all the things to this existence. What is that? Why is that? Because there's so many things around us that it's beyond enough is enough. You could take choose your poison. I believe this to be proof as to how effective evil has been in this life, diminishing our light, diminishing our resilience, our cognitive clarity, if you will, and abilities. So many of us are walking around delusionally as though things are just going to work out. They effectively are dumbing us all down. We have proof of that. We've gone over so much of that on this podcast. Help us get the message out. Help us reach others. Because the intention here is to gain back our resilience, to bless lives, to end a lot of this needless suffering, and secure a truly better, brighter future for us all. I try to stay away from 3Bs because they obviously have been running on this whole build back better, and what a freaking joke. That, my friends, is what evil has been so effective in doing. Just the old adage of wolf in sheep's clothing, under the guise of doing good, under the guise of love for you, under the guise of we care. They do not care. The only thing they really truly care about is money, control, and power. All those things are not of our loving creator, God. So who's it originally from? I'll let you find that out for yourselves, but I'm convicted that it's the evil one here, masquerading as a loving creator. And that couldn't be further from the truth. So I am really excited. God keeps putting amazing people in our path. And I'm so grateful for that, because it's breathed light, hope, momentum in the right directions. I just feel to an extent I'm failing my guests. I genuinely feel like, for example, those soldiers and so many of the line warriors, they should be in the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of views. The only way we're going to get there is through your help, through your support. So the number one challenge, if this speaks to you at all today in any way, shape, or form, please just share this to the moon and back. We all have responsibility. It's like evil has preyed on this age of convenience. And for whatever reason, we want to divvy up the responsibilities we have as citizens of this country, as actually like loved family members, and we all gotta show up. Not enough of us are doing just that fast enough. And there are definitely worse things than the pandemic, which is horrific. We haven't even begun to absorb the damage that has been caused, that they created through all of that. And so many individuals are excusing their responsibility and educating themselves. They're just, for whatever reason, just excusing their beliefs, regurgitating the talking points that were fed. We all have been duped. I myself have been duped. I'm not here to cast stones, but if we can't start bringing in accountability and acknowledging what has taken place, how on God's green earth are we going to even begin to start creating solutions and shift the direction of all these threats, or facing these threats and shutting these things down? I'm sick and tired of seeing individuals literally being attacked around me through so many means, and they're not even willing to see what they're actually seeing, whether it's the chemtrails, or hear what they actually hear, whether it's stumbling across this episode, and do their due diligence. We must source our information in this information age. So there is an amazing woman I cannot wait to have on this platform, Patty Myers. She has such a beautiful heart and is an incredibly strong, courageous woman. To take the stance she has taken due to her beloved husband's death. So, that being said, let's go ahead, kill the tunage. Let's not mess around. Let's freaking dive in this here right now. Screen share. Just push the buttons. Boom. So I don't know who all she's been involved with, but making a killing doc.com is a very powerful webpage that she's clearly been behind in creating. And she got involved with, let's take a look at some notes here, Inspired Films. Let's give a shout out to the director, Derek Sanchez. They have done a phenomenal job capturing Patty's story, her husband's story, other individual stories, and it unfortunately eerily parallels and is similar to hundreds of thousands of Americans in this country. Let this be the catalyst. Let this be enough is enough. Please, I'm pleading on behalf of love from my heart to all my beloved sisters and brothers in this world to stop. That was kind of my point. I'm sick and tired of us being experimented on. Let's put an end to all of that. Let's gain back the resilience certain elitists don't want us to have. For frick's sake, there's still king and queens in this world we live in. There's tyrannical rulers. There's people behind the scenes. Just like the freaking Wizard of Oz. And when you actually do your research, you find out who these individuals are. why they even do what they do. That's a big question. The only conclusion really that there's to be had, that I've had, and it's only increased my faith as to why we're here, and also kind of smacked me upside the head and really nailed as to why I'm here in this era. Because I often now wonder, if I wasn't born in this era at all, would I have any faith at all? So there is a great silver lining. There is a great blessing to the spiritual warfare taking place, because these evildoers are worshiping literally demonic individuals. And they've been so wrapped up in that, so consumed by all that, I believe they believe genuinely they're out to do good. But it's to the suffering of so many, and it's nothing shy of evil. So I digress. Let's check out this amazing webpage put together. Yeah, we cannot forget. Looks like there's all these awards that have been given, which is fantastic. It's getting recognition. A documentary exposing the deadly hospital protocols and more. Reflect back for a second, folks. How many people did you see dying on the streets, dying in their own beds during the whole pandemic? I know of no one. I only know of individuals that ended up in hospitals dying from what they call COVID. To this day, I still challenge the COVID narrative. Define COVID, because the PCR test literally had negative efficacy. So too many false positives. That in and of itself, if we would have truly honed in on the groups that were doing, as soon as the testing came out, they were doing open, close package, send it in, false positive. They were doing tap water, false positive. Fruits, animals. Some didn't even open the package and send it in and got a positive. The PCR testing alone is what stood up this pandemic. That, and obviously the level of control and manipulation they had over information. That should really highlight and put emphasis on how crucial it is. We don't allow censorship to happen anymore. We got to ensure our First Amendment right in this country. And so many individuals that, like this platform, are standing against the narratives and the true propagandists, are we surprised, are getting a lot of flack. Facing legal threats, physical threats, so many things. I imagine they're even targeted biologically. That's why we got to really focus on health. And the thing is, they cannot come after us all. And when you see that wizard behind that curtain, there's nothing impressive about him. In fact, it becomes quite disgusting. But there's a lot of beauty to be had in acknowledging what's truly happening around us. And I believe, for me, once again, the greatest silver lining is how it's increased my faith. It's so clear to me that mankind left to their own. Undoubtedly, we would have some bad actors. Sure, they get wrapped up in this life and they just want to take what's yours, make it theirs. But even as defective creatures as or in this mortal state, we all actually are. I just know humankind, mankind, wouldn't allow, our communities and countries and such wouldn't allow such evil to reign. And it wouldn't even exist. I just know we're not that demonic. So it just proves, when you really look into it and what's fueling these individuals, the spiritual realm to this existence in a huge way is more real, more important than this freaking bleep and moment in time. I know when you're suffering, it can feel, it's all consuming. They want us in that state, folks. And they've been far too effective with that. There is a sense of urgency. It's not tomorrow. It's not the day after. It's right here, right now. We all have responsibility. Okay. We're going to play these two trailers. In fact, I've reached out to Patty, and I actually would like to receive her blessing to play the entire first full-fledged film right here on the podcast. Because that's the thing. If we don't make it too convenient, like just literally spoon-fed for certain individuals. Now, I know it's different for my loyal listeners. They're not, I want to retract that. This isn't mine. All glory to God on this platform, 100%. This is ours. He's given this to us. Let's utilize this as an effective tool to get organized, create momentum, and more stinking solutions that we all so desperately need. So, synopsis. This docuseries follows Patty Myers as she fights for the change with the hospital industry. She shares about her late husband, Tony Myers. What a strong man. And what he's gone through can end up such a great blessing to so many others. And you can see the selflessness of Patty in showing up and doing everything she's doing on our behalf. All we got to do, the heavy lifting's being done, folks, is support what they already have created. And it could lead to major positive shifts all around us. Tony Myers was poorly treated due to the lack of care, malpractice, and restrictive, in parentheses, and ultimately deadly hospital protocols. She also chats with the senators and other individuals who have seen similar situations occur across the country. Join her on this journey as she not only fights for her husband, but also for patients to be in control of their healthcare journey. We have patient rights, and I don't understand how they were. To an extent, I can see all their tactics and how they became so effective with the controlling of information, with all the fear porn and ramping things up. They gained a lot of momentum, and they carried out as much tyranny with that momentum as they could, including infringing on our patient rights. Unbelievable. My heart goes out to these families in the separation. They, in seclusion and everything that took place, we haven't acknowledged it. We are not to move past these things. Let's not, like Brad Miller brought up. History would say we the people wouldn't hold our transgressors or whatever, or these evildoers to justice and accountability. Not to say we can't, but I believe that just once again becomes proof as to how they've diminished us. We've been dumbed down. It's literally like that film Idiocracy. We've effectively been dumbed down to almost just accept, and just we're living under a delusion of freedom to a huge degree in this country when we're not even free in our own minds. I would challenge those that would just regurgitate narratives. Where did that come from? Think about how our institutions got used against us. Just under it's like the doctors, as they so eloquently put, got put into a box, and this was the protocol. This is how it is. This is what you do. Practicing medicine was out the window. Patient rights was out the windows. Family couldn't even be there to provide even the most basic fundamentals of health care, ensuring water when they need it and even don't need it, just plenty of water, plenty of food, all the things they needed. Love. I mean, just kind of like the solitary confinement they experienced was gonna have a huge impact on their health. It was going to ramp up fear and anxiety within their body, which puts them in a fight or flight, which wrecks the immune system. It was literally set up. And I don't care unintended consequences like or adverse effects. This, at the root of it, was intentional. And we're going to play from some of these elitists. You don't have to take my word for it. Intent can be hard to prove. But we got the freaking receipts, folks. You can hear it from them themselves. They talk about depopulation. They even use such verbiage as though they're putting it in beautiful wrapping with a beautiful bow, and it almost seems like they're effectively, there's so much money and things behind it all, think tanks and such. I mean, you could see it in the recent debate. I don't mean to get political, but it tore me apart how well Kamala was able to speak. And it would mislead and deceive so many as to believing that she may be a solution. But it was utter lies. It was utter lies. And if we can't get the information, does that mean Donald Trump's the answer for everything? No. No one is. We are the answer we need. And we must absorb that and get that. We could ensure that any individual, whether good or bad intent, they fulfill what we want. That's how the infrastructure is supposed to work in this country. And we've given that up. And now we've been targeted, and the government has literally waged war against we the people. It's like our government at this point is bought out and infiltrated and occupied. It's so freaking clear. And to the globalists, that's chump change. Okay, I'm getting way off track here. I apologize. Healthcare journey. Enough is enough. Thank you for stating that, Patty. Enough is enough. It is time to speak up. It is time to take a stand. It is time for change. Beautifully said. Let's embody this. Let's do our part. Let's bring back that responsibility. There's extreme fulfillment. There's blessing. You save a life. You save a soul. There is not enough riches in this world. I know prepared for those that fulfill that. We can't even fathom what's awaiting us after this existence. Okay, let's dive into a couple of these trailers. It would be nice if someone could just verify for me that the sound comes through okay.
My name is Patty Myers. I am a wife that is trying to fight for her husband because I felt like they were like, we've done the protocol, there's nothing more we can do.
Did they do the best that they could for my mom? And my answer is absolutely not. If you didn't want their protocol, you were left to die. You were left with nothing.
This story is really not about COVID. Governments and hospitals are making decisions and care for patients.
Sadly, that's where we are now, is that you need to have a consultant make sure they don't kill you in the hospital.
And when you have government involved in healthcare, it's almost like you're just a number at that point.
So I can't argue with the folks who will say they want to stay away from the hospitals till the hospitals figure out how to redeem themselves. But until they're willing to stand up and say, we made a really big mistake.
Yes.
And I said, how can you tell me about data when you don't even know where to go to get the data? I mean, she sounded really incompetent. She was nasty. And I knew right then that there was something more behind this.
This whole healthcare has changed. The incentive is money. No medicine, no treatment should just be the one size fits all for anybody.
Right.
Once we normalize something that's evil, it's not going to stop. There's just going to be other reasons that they continue it.
Nobody wants to ever admit they're wrong. They can't afford to be proven wrong. Body count is way too high, and they have the power to make sure it's difficult to prove them wrong.
I'm so sick and tired of the protocol. The protocol sucks. Enough.
Wow. Oh. Holy smokes. Very well done. We're going to play that other one just here in a second. Our story. My husband, Tony, was a funny guy. I was married to him for 31 plus years. He loved fishing, making people laugh, Virginia Tech college football, and Jesus. He died unnecessarily due to deadly stay-in-the-box hospital protocols. I am here to stand up for him and for the other millions. Folks, we got to grasp how much suffering this has led to of valued people in this country. My husband tried to fight for his life, but the hospital kept saying no. We all need to stand up. 100%, Patty. Excuse me. She's lived such a selfless life. I mean, even she was a part in building pathways, a bridge for great potential. So even pre all of this, you could just see the heart of this amazing woman and this amazing man. Where they're just catering to I don't know the verbiage, but some special needs and giving them abilities and skills in this life to be more self-sufficient. What a beautiful walk. I cannot wait to watch the full second episode. But once I gain, or if I gain Patty's blessing essentially to play this whole episode, this one's like a little over an hour long. Really goes into the depth of her story and also others, what they experienced. And if you had experienced something similar or know of someone, we'd love to get in touch with them to bring them on board and essentially team up. There is truly more power in numbers. But the second one really dives into the corrupt infrastructure and much more, and I can't wait. That's probably going to end up another one I'll want to play on this very podcast, but let's check out the second trailer.
There are so many people who are making a killing off of hospital protocols, and it's time to dig in deeper. Why are doctors and nurses choosing to stay even when the truth is right in front of them? Why are people just going along with it?
It's more about hospital and their money and meeting quota, and that takes away from patient care, which ultimately is not benefiting the patient or helping the patient.
Right.
I now know the truth, and there's no going back. I can't just pretend, because if I did, then I'm just as bad as they are.
There's too many that were influenced by their colleagues, by their job, to regurgitate these same talking points, these narratives. The power of influence around us, folks. We gotta see that.
Our freedom back. We need our medical freedom back. It has been stripped from us. We do not have a choice in the hospital. The end.
After witnessing what I saw happening, I don't think that I could ever return. I felt very traumatized by what I was forced to engage in.
Wow.
When you choose to go against what you know is true, you give up a part of your soul.
How did this get organized at such a large scale?
She's right.
How did the hospitals all of a sudden overnight change their business model?
As a nurse on the inside, I wasn't even able to advocate for my own patients. They're very, very good at making patients feel like they don't know anything, or talking down to them, or, you need to listen to us because, this is what we went to school for.
I am so sick and tired of hearing stories about victims who were killed because of these ridiculous protocols. Yeah. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm still going, to uncover the truth so that this won't happen again.
Wow. Bless everyone involved that is putting these together. Let's help them build more momentum and joining forces. These institutions truly did get weaponized against we the people. They ramped up everything, folks. Look at the momentum they were able to build. The way remdesivir was used, masking, distancing, stay-at-home orders, the shutdown, lying about the numbers, the actual deaths. Never in human history did anyone die from a cold or flu, they got ran over on a motorcycle on the streets. You could have got hit by a dang meteoroid, and during this pandemic got chalked up as COVID. Unbelievable. The flu didn't disappear, the cold didn't disappear, and influenza did not disappear. Okay? That, once again, reflecting back on the defective PCR testing. The actual inventor of that testing even spoke how this was not an effective way of diagnosing, because you could ramp up the cycles to essentially get false positives. And I believe that man even faced a mysterious death at the point he started speaking out on things. Too many got prematurely silenced. It's time to open our eyes and truly see what has taken place. And I feel that's the only way we're going to be able to onboard our gifts in creating actual solutions. This is warfare. Just like what this episode, the very image and title, right? They are after our minds on a psychological level. That's even something I should have queued up. The World Economic Forum and Klaus Schwab, and even though I do have a couple with him in it, but his puppet Harari, and how they literally quote, they currently have the technology to control the masses. Absorb that. You can see how rational thinking has gone out the window. You can see how critical thinking has disappeared within individuals. And there's just this great disconnect. We must humble ourselves and do the dang research. And it all begins with sourcing. You can't go to the owned institutions. Damn the talking heads. and all the corrupt news. They were the true propagandists during this pandemic and to this day on so many things. They masquerade and they'll give you the illusion as though there's choice between Fox News and CNN. But the reality of it is they both answer to the same dang slave masters. You could follow the money. Seriously, just follow the money. It truly will open eyes. This whole thing has been nothing shy of criminal. A criminal assault on we the people. And we're not willing, we're not even willing to see the truth, yet do anything about it. What the freaking heck is going on? How is it so many aren't even willing to look into the actual data? The floodgates have opened. I just recently talked to an amazing woman. It seemed as though she had critical thinking skills and she was a huge part of the hospital systems, and it felt as though her heart was in the right place. But even to this day, I should seek clarification whether she's died suddenly, whether she's seen the floodgates, because to this day, too many individuals are still under the illusion as though that jab was still beneficial to certain individuals and other ones. And it's just like everything has been gravely debunked, has beyond been eyebrow raising and bringing levels of concern. We can at least hopefully all acknowledge that these institutions, pharma and Western medicine and the indoctrination, it's all more so been about business. It's been more so about making money over health and wellness. That very fact alone should have us seeking, well, how off course have they gotten? Has it gotten as bad as that they're intentionally creating supposed solutions to entrap us into a forever protocol, if you will, that they have designed, all about money and all about control? Once again, they have the technology to control the masses, as they say. That humans, quote, are now hackable animals. End quote. Humans are now hackable animals. What means are they utilizing to do this? Well, let's dive in. I just kind of went on a binge regarding this. He's the perfect wolf in sheep's clothing, with the comb over and the glasses and the sweater wearing. Let's just pop down. There's so much. There's so much. Let's just let's hit this one first. Do not take our words for it. They planned our genocide and say it out loud themselves. Wake up, folks. Where's the accountability? Truly.
What would you like to see as your legacy in 10, 15 years?
Of the new work?
Of the new work,
yeah.
Of your new function.
Well, I set very ambitious goals because I'm quite optimistic. If you look at, say, the 20 diseases that our global health program goes after, I'd hope that within 15 years, over half of those, we could have had a very dramatic impact. You know, huge change in the mortality rates in developing countries, which then has this effect of reducing population growth. That's the...
I don't understand it. See how they put a pretty package and bow on that. Oh, we're combating all these 20 diseases, and we're putting all this money in research. And these are puppets, folks. They're fulfilling a bigger agenda. 2030, look it up. These evil globalists, I'm telling you, you got to look into Davos and these meetups of these elitists. They view humanity, they value human life less than cattle. Another quote from Klaus Schwab, that we're a bunch of useless eaters that will own nothing and be happy. Useless eaters. Think about that. Cattle eat and can be eaten. Humans are useless eaters. They genuinely value our lives less than cattle. They have so many like manifestos and things where they're talking about world population, all under the guise of so many, once again, the climate change hoax, so many things that preys effectively on people's heartstrings, creates division amongst the people. We got to rule out this corruption to even truly get on board to a percentage of the populace to actually gain, like get to the bottom of it, gain transparency, uncover truth. But he just stated, if in fact he was fulfilling what he was talking about with the pretty wrapping of faith, challenging these 20 illnesses and diseases, then the mortality rates would not only go up, but population would as well. So the fact they talk about healthcare services, they talk about vaccines, they talk about all the things they've been engaged in, ultimately achieving a depopulation, takes no freaking rocket scientist. We didn't hear it then. We didn't fully grasp or absorb it then. But can we see it now? After the pandemic? After all this suffering?
This big benefit that then makes everything like education and nutrition a lot easier. So I have very high expectations.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Don't take my word for it. Right here. I mean, the experiments that happen, Indians and in Africa. I don't get it. If only high enough percentage of the population really could grasp, and then in parentheses, this is proof, yet again, how that they have effectively dumbed us down substantially because we're not grasping it. We're not waking up fast enough. And the thing is with tyranny, unless stopped, they're not stopping, folks. I genuinely know there are worse things being created. Worse things in store for each and every one of us if we don't seize the moment we have right now with the abilities we seemingly have right now. On even just a few things that they have done. There literally would be, or could be, nowhere that they would be able to hide in this existence. They'd be literally hunted down if we could actually grasp the truth behind what they've done. Once again, do not take my word for it. Here you go.
The world today has...
By the way, we've played this plenty of times, and we're going to continue to play it till it has the proper effect. Whether it has the proper effect or not, irrelevant. I genuinely feel as though, knowing what I've know in pulling things together, I mean, even the information God has put in my life, that if I didn't sound the alarm all the way to the bitter end, if that's what happens, there'd be blood on my hands. We all have a role to play here, folks.
6.8 billion people, that's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
Grasp that. If they do a really good job at healthcare, health services, vaccinations, what? They're talking about genocide. Lowering the world population 10 or 15%. I believe they've been far more successful than even those percentiles. And with the additional boosters, and all the other things, they just have gotten started. And this has been the biggest distribution of wealth throughout human history. No longer, for the first time, it seems, in American history, does the majority of the wealth lie within the middle class. It lies within the 1%, which represents thousands, not tens of thousands. Thousands have the majority of the wealth. And then there's all the rest of us. We can't even fathom as to the money, the engineering, everything that's going in behind the scenes to ensure this two-tiered system lasts. I personally believe that their whole agenda to achieve a world population of 500 million, which means the genocide of 7.5 billion people, is solely to ensure their status isn't threatened anymore. That they forever are in a ruler's seat in this existence. I don't believe God will allow things to get that darn bad before enough is enough, because God's all about free agency. And they're effectively taking that away from so many, and they're not even seeing it happen. And they're drinking the Kool-Aid, not even understanding they've joined this cult, and they're fighting on behalf of this cult that is nothing shy of evil. Let's continue.
Well, common sense would tell you, if you have a man standing in front of you saying he's going to reduce the world's population by 10 or 15% using vaccines, what does that mean to you? It means somebody's going to die because you put a vaccine in them. It doesn't mean you're going to save people. That's pretty much common sense in my brain. But yet I saw him say it. He said it. Yeah. And here we are. I don't know. I'm just, here we are. I'm now an anti-vaxxer. I wasn't before.
What does that mean? How many times should we just make an episode replaying this for 5 hours? Just replaying it. Let that sink in. What does that mean? The common sense side of it, which we've lost, so many of us, would say it isn't. Words to me freaking mean something, folks. It's not health services. It's not caring for people to see them die. They're beyond snakes and grass. These are evil, evil men and women. They've chosen their God. The only gains to be had for these individuals are on this bleep in time. That's it. And it seems as though they're given much in this existence. Doesn't mean it can't be stripped from them if the people actually grasped I believe real men would set down their daily jobs and everything, because what does that matter if the free agency of their children, whether it's like we don't need chains and imprisonment like we more so did in the past for dictatorships on a biological level. With what I've even faced regarding this bioweapon Lyme disease that dates even way back. That's old school. This new type of nanotech, the way they've weaponized parasites, all these things. I don't even mean to dive. I could go off on so many of the different angles of attack. This in and of itself, in my eyes, is a smoking gun. Kind of want to replay it, but let's move on. Prove me wrong, but sadly it seems they have been effective hacking enough individuals to not do a damn thing as they kill us off. This is a level of corruption, pure evil, that has got to be stopped.
Fast forward to the Gates Foundation, which most people don't realize was an undisclosed settlement between the U.S. Department of Justice and the Gates convicted felony antitrust violations, right? This was not, there was an allegation Microsoft did bad things. This is they were convicted of antitrust crimes. Quite mysteriously, the Gates Foundation just shows up and instantaneously starts laundering money into, are you ready for this? The World Health Organization.
It's a big spider web. It's a big club.
If
we
you look
ain't
at
in
the
it.
financial statements, beginning with the Gates Foundation, when it was established, you start seeing an anomaly. It used to be that UN-associated organizations, and specifically the World Health Organization, had two line items for most countries. The country, through an organization like the State Department or through a line item budget, would allocate money to the World Health Organization. And then there's the corporation for the same country, and there's another allocation coming from there. But with Wellcome Trust, Rockefeller Foundation, and Gates Foundation, and the minor players like the Bloomberg Foundation and a couple others now, but mostly the top three.
Expose them.
Suddenly, we actually have the formation of what we called the Global Preparedness Monitoring Board. Well, who's sitting on that? Dr. Elias from the Gates Foundation, Anthony Fauci from NIAID, Jeremy Farr from the Wellcome Trust. I mean, this is a criminal conspiracy.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that from the standpoint of conspiracy theory. I'm saying that from the definition of what it means to be a criminal conspiracy.
Ooh, I like how he worded that, because words are supposed to mean something, folks. I'm telling you, there's no greater gifts than gaining that discernment, and it's all to be had through our loving Creator. He's there for everyone. You think our loving God that breathed life into all of this into existence doesn't have that ability for us? You kidding me?
So if you ask the question, which is a legitimate thing to do, was the FDA, was the CDC following orders from the WHO? The answer is asterisk, almost. But who were they really following orders from? And that's where you get into the nasty answer, which is the answer was that interlocking directorate, that violation of antitrust laws, that corporate machine, not health, not, we're out for the good of humanity. That corporate criminal conspiratorial organization that was guilty at the time of racketeering, was guilty at the time of interlocking directorates, all felonies, was guilty at the time of price fixing, another felony, which was guilty at the time of actually suppressing commercial alternatives, which is called market allocation, another felony. That criminal organization announced that it was going to take over the world, and they did. But we have to name the names. It wasn't just the World Health Organization. Right. Anybody thinks that Tedros is smart enough to pull this off is delusional. Right. He's a puppet. And there's a giant stick up his ass, which is what's making his mouth move. But who's moving the stick for the puppet? And that is Wellcome, Gates, and Rockefeller. By 2023, which is kind of where we are right now, Gates represents 88% of the donation to the World Health Organization from donor organizations and agencies. By any definition, that's a controlling interest.
Right.
So is it independent? No.
When we grasp this, why are we sitting back accepting it? Let's break the vicious cycle of history where we do nothing to egregious outcomes. We are the victims of this attack. And we're just going to allow more because the distribution of wealth, they now can build out more against us. If we don't truly grasp this and seize this moment, it's not, and I told you so. My heart's just going to ache for what freaking comes next.
Is it the World Health Organization nonprofit in Switzerland? No. This even violates Swiss law. Yeah. Everything I'm saying is a violation of Swiss law. If we think about how bizarre it is that we have essentially the extension of the Carnegie Foundation's eugenics office, which they put at Cold Spring Harbor Labs back in the early 1900s, the continuation of that with the explicit inclusion of that as an agenda in the 1950s when the World Health Organization gets off the ground. The ongoing nature of Bill Gates getting up and talking about how there's too many people on the earth, and Bloomberg and others getting up and saying we need to figure out how to control populations. No. In 2011, when we had the Decade of the Vaccines publication come out of the Global Preparedness Monitoring Board, we had a very explicit statement that said that if we have vaccinations where we need them, we will actually see potentially as much as a 20% reduction in the population on Earth. Those are not allegations. Those are stated objectives.
You could see everything that Gates' character was doing there in the background. Very well funded, rehearsed, well spoken, just pulling the wool over our eyes as though they are showing up in loving ways. And it is nothing as they're projecting. They are the true propagandists. It's why, are you kidding me? To this day, the level of tyranny on freaking YouTube and Facebook, and I mean, even to X to an extent, at least it seems, I mean, there's still people getting banned that are really uncovering things and bringing up questions on hot topics. But even how it's built out, like even, I mean, I have multiple videos recently of even being up here in God's green country in the wilderness, very remote, and the targeting of the spray happening in the skies right here. Let me ask you, have you ever considered what is actually happening? Have you looked into it? Have you come to the conclusion as to, because I could post that footage I took, and you'd have to bring a lot of dang receipts. You'd have to disprove what they've said themselves, what the scientists have found in the stratosphere, in the peaks where snows don't even melt, and they're testing and they're proving that this is a relatively new thing regarding like the age of everything in our lives. This is our lifespan, essentially, that these aluminum, barium, plastics, all these toxins, because they're only in the top layers of the snow. They didn't even make it into the soil samples. There's so many layers that it truly is killing multiple birds with one stone. What they're doing is even setting them up to create more genetically modified, because it's killing crops, animals, all sorts of things, to where they gain the control. Could you imagine the power and the control just for a second? By pumping these things into our atmospheres, they eventually settle We're breathing them in, we're touching. So yeah, it's damaging us. It's literally like aluminum. It leads to Alzheimer's and neurological dysfunction. I don't, no one in their right mind. I literally even thought of an analogy just the other day. You would be better off, and I'm not advocating anyone do this, just a disclaimer, but you literally would be better off ordering up rat poisoning, microdosing rat poisoning, because I don't know, maybe there could be a potential positive outcome where you end up like the Princess Bride, and you can, that gentleman, and he created an immunity to a poison. So if you're ever in a situation like that, you're going to come out on top. Like, at least you're knowing, but to deceive yourself and lie as though their definition of the ice crystallization, that doesn't linger all afternoon. You can see the contrails behind a jet actually dissipating behind the jet. It never grows more than a certain length. It just naturally dissipates. Then you see the actual spraying occur. And we have military whistleblowers. We have private air individuals. What would you even call them? But they've whistleblown and talked about the programs, and for every gallon they, refill, essentially, meaning they sprayed, they get X amount of dollars. It essentially allows them as private individuals with their jets to essentially own and operate and fly their private things for free. So there's grave incentive to them at the detriment of all humanity. And now they create genetically modified crops and so many things that are now immune to the because it's no secret, this has been incredibly damning to the pH levels in our soil and so much of our natural, like, heirloom seeds and crops. So it puts them in control on so many aspects, from so many angles. It's truly unfathomable, but we gotta wake up to the truth. They effectively spin words in a manipulative way, but how easy it is to see what they were saying, all saying now. The time truly is right now to wake up. Not tomorrow, but right now. Ask yourself, what will you do today as your responsibility, your duty to fight back in this war that's being waged against you? What are you going to do? Anything at all? Or just accept that and, it's just a contrail. They're not just poisoning the air. They're poisoning the water. They're poisoning the food. They're gaining more and more momentum, more and more control. And too many of us are just accepting it. Do I scream into the microphone? What do I do? What approach do you personally feel would be most effective? And if you got the good cop aspect to it or the bad cop aspect to it down, I welcome you. Reach out to unmuzzledchat@gmail.com. Come speak your truths. Explain why you believe what it is you believe. Bring some receipts and let's have a chat. Let's have a conversation to the betterment of all humanity.
We also face a new threat that the next epidemic has a good chance of originating on a
2000, what was that? Let's get back. February 18th, 2017. It was all planned, folks, aka plandemic. Shout out to John, the Forgotten Soldiers. Brother, I appreciate you. You're a true warrior. What they're doing over there is freaking amazing. And the tyranny, our soldiers, and now the civilians, they're bringing on so many stories that are just jaw-dropping and building momentum there. And I'm just a funny thing, like, I didn't even know how to say pandemic anymore because I've said plandemic. Like, I'm so convicted in that. The true plandemic was the outcome of their plandemic. If I even said it right, or did I just say plandemic twice? I don't know. Let's continue.
Originating on a computer screen of a terrorist intent on using genetic engineering to create a synthetic version of the smallpox virus or a contagious and highly deadly strain of flu. So the point is that we ignore the strong link between health security and international security at our peril. Whether it occurs by the quirk of nature or at the hand of a terrorist, epidemiologists show through their models that a respiratory spread pathogen would kill more than 30 million people in less than a year.
Ramping up the fear porn even back then. More people entrusted in their foundational work as though it was a good thing then. It's just the beginning stages. Unbelievable.
And there is a reasonable probability of that taking place in the years ahead. We also face a new threat.
Once again, you don't have to take my word for it. You can hear it. You can see through the gaslighting and the manipulative words now. Hindsight is truly 2020, isn't it? Gosh. Another angle, not just poisoning us with spray in our skies, it has been devastating to our crops. Can't you see the power that this puts them in for GMOs, seeds, etc.? And we just kind of touched on that. They are quite literally killing. You got multiple birds with one stone. Wake up. The information is out. The floodgates. Once again, it's why no one on the side of censorship is going to be on the right side of history. We can't allow anyone in a position of power that wants to infringe upon our freedom of speech.
Hello. I want to thank President Ruto for convening this event and prioritizing this important work. I started work on climate change over 2 decades ago after I left my full-time work at Microsoft, and I was focusing on fighting poverty and fighting diseases.
Right.
When I visited Africa, I saw 2 things. First was how climate is already affecting agricultural output, although they've contributed almost nothing to these greenhouse gas emissions because they're
greenhouse gas. So they want to make carbon an issue, folks. We got to understand, when you ask these individuals, they don't have a legitimate answer. When you state, how much does our entire atmosphere account, like on the whole carbon scale? You know what? I'm having a brain fart, whether it's 0.4 or 4. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt. 0.4%. It's so minuscule. And then when you actually look into the human footprint aspect of that, okay, how much of that is maybe from volcanic and what is that? That, not the algae, another brain fart. Pardon me, I'm human. Can't retain all these things. I'm just a limited being. Kelp. Is it the kelp in the oceans? Those emit a lot. Anyway, the human footprint of that let's say 4%, is 0.03% of that 0.4%. It's so minuscule. I like how one scientist put it. It's like halting the whole world. Stop everything because there's a singular grain of sand on a bridge somewhere. It is ludicrous. It's just another control tactic. It's another preying on our heartstrings tactic. It's all it is. And we got to call it out for what it is. Okay? We can't allow this tyranny to freaking continue. What a freaking joke. There's a special place for demons such as this.
They're dependent on farming. They're near the equator. They're already experiencing more damages than other countries. But I also saw the energy shortage.
The damage is more so probably due to the spraying of the skies that you're creating, and then also you're creating the problem, you're creating the freaking solution by more control with the genetically modification of seeds. Prove us wrong. Bring the receipts that support what this POS is saying right now. Because watch Franken skies. They have arborists speaking on the actual pH levels and the detrimental. I mean, how even the aluminum acts as an accelerant to a lot of these wildfires we're experiencing, but how it's harmful to all biological life, plant life, animal life, human life. It's even what is creating the potential extinction of the bumblebee, which some experts state that they're so freaking important to our ecosystem that if the bumblebee goes extinct, mankind more than likely will be shortly to follow suit. But what has happened? Like Monsanto now owns all these patents. Like, this is no coincidence, folks. Well, let's rewind just a bit. The scientists started looking into the bees and what might be causing this. They found insane levels of aluminum in their brains. So think about it. They're literally spraying this in the sky. Inevitably settles. The flowers and all the plants are just absorbing everything. And when it comes to a flower, which a bee encounters, I'm not a rocket scientist. These are just dots I've connected my own dumb brain over here. I know I shouldn't speak negatively like that, but I just know I'm no expert, but it makes sense. Puts all the energy, absorbs everything, including this aluminum, and puts it into a high concentrated bud and a flower and the sprouting. And the bees are going around pollinating, doing their thing and taking it back. It's no secret as to where they're accumulating all of this thing we're doing that's killing them off. So it's no coincidence that Monsanto now owns all these patents, and they've created a Frankenstein type of bee that supposedly has some type of immunity to aluminum. Great. You can't make this stuff up, folks. Unbelievable. And no accountability. What's wrong with us? What truly is wrong with us?
Shortage. And we need Africa to have lots and lots of energy to develop their economies. It's fantastic that the African researchers and companies are now thinking about how they can reduce their emissions and continue to grow their economies. Breakthrough Energy is the organization I created to help with climate mitigation. The goal is to innovate, to make the cost of being clean far, far less.
Such a snake.
And that means we can reduce the emissions and avoid this temperature increase that has such a negative impact.
Okay, it went from we were all facing an ice age, we were all going to freeze, to global warming, and all these elitists that bought up that agenda have beach houses and estates right on the, and it was supposed to be underwater ages ago from their calculations. And so they don't care about their hypocrisies, okay? They don't. They care about the hierarchy. They care about, they continue to stay in the seats of control to manipulate the information that inevitably manipulates the stinking masses. It is so clear. Freaking snakes and grass, using all these words as though, but because words mean something to us, but they're not, they're projecting. It's true propaganda.
Impact. Late last year, I was in a farm in eastern Kenya, and they were experiencing drought. And so I talked through with Mary, who was the farmer, how the new seeds and new approaches were helping.
Their seeds that they now control, they created the problem, they created the solution. I've had enough. This freaking POS. Bill Gates' speech at Africa Climate Summit. Bill Gates is calling on governments around the world to use his genetically modified crops and livestock for climate adaptation through his new company, Breakthrough Energy. Come on, man. Can we actually absorb what's happening? It's so freaking clear. Do you love this man still? Have you had enough?
People said, well, that's interesting, but what are we going to do about it? I mean, that's kind of a very culturally distinct thing. And, you know,
you know what? So right here, Gates selects a country with a high illiterate rate, uses third world country, monopolizes the NGO sector under the premise of humanitarian aid. It's all guys. Such as AIDS simply claims male genitalia mutilation could solve AIDS. No scientific basis. They're talking about mutilating, also a form of genociding by mutilating that particular. You can't make this stuff up, folks.
People even willing to talk.
Don't take my stinking word for it.
Talk about it. Is there any way that you can do it? And you need a lot of surgeons. And surgeons, you know, they could make mistakes, and people are sensitive about mistakes. And, you know, this just may not work. Well, there was a French scientist in South Africa who took an area called Orange Farm, and he went and proved that if you provided the service, if you promoted it, that the young men who you want to come in, say age sort of 12 to 20, that they would come in. And so he got over 80% coverage of this township area. The question was, what do you do to avoid the need for lots of surgical time? Typically, a surgeon would need on the order of 30 minutes per procedure. And so what was invented is this thing. It's called the Sheng ring. And what this does is it reduces the time that the surgeon has to be involved down to a few minutes. Now, in no way does it substitute for the fact that we want a vaccine. We want a perfect preventative tool, and we're going to keep investing in that. But in the meantime, for not too much money, maybe $1 billion in total to cover all of the heavily affected areas.
They've taken our wealth to such a degree that billions of dollars is not much to them anymore. Like, we can't even fathom what are we going to do about this?
We can promote, roll out, and deliver these circumcisions because of this, piece of plastic that completely changes the training required and the complexity.
Wow. Unbelievable. Bill Gates wants African nations depopulated. As you can clearly see, he says, if the population growth goes unchecked, how will you check it? Tainted vaccines are nothing but bioweapons. Remember, they used vaccines to infect South Africans with HIV. It's crazy to me. Bill Gates, is it possible to stop the next pandemic? They are creating them and want to strip you of all your rights. The very origins, all this is demonic. It's clear.
Do you believe it's possible to prevent the next pandemic?
Say again?
Is it possible to prevent the next pandemic?
Yes, if every country does what Australia did, then you wouldn't be calling it a pandemic. That's all.
Do you believe it's possible to prevent the next pandemic?
They complied. They were forced. They didn't have this civil weaponry we have here in America. And I say weaponry, usually it's just, classified under Second Amendment and the right. But we need that weaponry against this type of warfare. Period. Full stop. That's why they're trying to even manipulate us to giving that up as though it's a solution to the more problems they themselves are creating. The more they even get us confused as children to even our sexual, biological nature, we're going to end up more malleable. It's MK Ultra tactics. Literally operations that have been undisclosed, happening upon all of us on the world stage. Personally, I don't find anything about this phony at all. That being said, this comedian's words in this here clip are incredibly true and powerful. Question becomes, how is it we no longer even acknowledge real threats anymore? More proof we have become hacked.
We have another crazy billionaire, Bill Gates, says there's too many of us. His thing by 2030 is to depopulate the planet, and I just wondered, like, are we part of the population that he wants to
The answer is yes. Are you part of the club? You actually know the truth from them as to what's going on? I'm sure they have protocols and certain things to keep them more so detoxified and immune to the actual things they're doing. There's no way they would essentially poison their own habitats without having those solutions. And that, luckily, even on a civilian level, there's a lot of doctors having breakthrough. Let's plug Masterpiece real quick. As far as these heavy metals and forever chemicals, that tincture helps eradicate it from your body and brain. Bond charge and just ramping up the own natural abilities through sweating and infrared and the actual frequencies that emits is far greater than even your traditional sauna on getting those things out. It's crazy. The smells, my body, if it's too much information, it is what it is. But my body actually puts out, and I'm elated by that because I know it's not happening. It's just a regular sweat, regular smells coming from a regular sauna. But this is like penetrating deeper, on deeper levels. So I'm so grateful to have those affiliations. Check out the Masterpiece link below, and Bond Charge, you're getting 15% off all their products. Check it out. It's crucial that we don't allow we have proper ways to prevent and protect ourselves from all these things. Otherwise, with that aluminum in excess, making it to our brains, no wonder there's an increase to Alzheimer's, neurological dysfunction, lethargic, all these things. They ramped up all of this, as well as 5G and frequency warfare, which has been documented. There's nothing new about frequency warfare. It's been happening for generations, folks. It's been weaponized, a legit weapon created even for our military through sound waves and all sorts of things. And it's dumbing us down. We've been frogs in that pot of water, and we're not hopping out fast enough to turn off the dang stove and save our loved ones. Health is the cornerstone to becoming the solution to all these things, as well as our spirituality. Why did they pull out God and fought that narrative more so even first than really ramping up the poisons from our health services, the poisons from our food sources, and then the controlling and slowly, Rockefellers and what is it, Morgan and Wells Fargo, all these individuals realized early on, they all ended up investing in to newspaper outlets. They realized the power they gained in controlling information dating back to news. And then everything that came from then.
Depopulate? This is too many of us. And he says it. And people go, it's a conspiracy theory. It's a conspiracy theory. He f***ing said it.
Yeah.
You can go on YouTube. He said Bill Clinton, Bill Gates. I'm sorry, I was thinking about Epstein's Island for a second.
What's funny about that? Epstein, that actually shows the demonic side of these individuals and who they're worshiping. And why they're coming after our children from so many aspects. Under the guise of providing health services and Planned Parenthood when they're profiting off of the loss of our unborn children. And they use language to desensitize us from the actual murder that's taking place in their services. It's murder. It's not a human right to commit murder. So then they prey on us in a sense as, they're infringing on our rights, these dang Republicans and blah, blah. It's not a right to commit murder. We could play the light that happens when life happens. When the sperm enters the egg, there's a light. And scientists should try to explain it away that, it's just a burst of zinc, and there's literally light when life happens. I do like the My Body, My Choice when it comes to the very specific act that has to take place. The only act that takes place to create life. You can't rid responsibility after that act. So it should be pro-choice regarding that act. Obviously, we know there's horrific, and it's less than barely even a percentile, but everyone wants to bring up that talking point. But even then, when they didn't have the choice in that act, we should still champion life because life has begun. And they're preying on us in a way. I mean, you got to understand, 1 million abortions are happening in this country each year alone. There are 2 million registered individuals on the adoption list. We have better solutions. We could get more in tune with the spiritual side of things and not fall prey to their propaganda as though it's right. And they've more so effectively gotten in the hearts and minds of young women regarding just this. Man, I really hope to have that mother on that was ostracized from her family, that was kicked out, that was raped, and she was all about, she knew as a mother, she knew she was in tune. I am not gonna murder this life. Faced against all the odds, champion life without even a support structure. That is to be praised. That is to be magnified. How did you do it? If we put 1/10 of the energy going in towards all the division and chaos on this topic alone, those mothers would want for nothing. We provide all the funds for them, all the support services to champion life.
So, Bill Gates, you go see on YouTube. He says one of the goals by 2030 is to lower the population of the planet, and one of the ways to do that is using vaccines. It's like, what? And people go, no, that's a conspiracy theory. So he said it.
He did.
You can go see. He said,
we played it.
But it's a conspiracy theory to think, he meant what he said.
Seriously, that's how delusional, that's how disconnected we are. That is so much proof that we've been diminished. That anyone that has conspiracy, golly, detox your body, balance your nutrition, your hormones, source your water, source your food, actually obtain real food. I've realized on this journey out here in the wilderness, when I started resorting to pre-made burritos and such, I could see, like, my body, I start sweating more in the armpits. Like, what? This is something new. The smells I put out now are complete. You are what you eat. And I shamefully read all the ingredients on those things. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Here I am advocating so profoundly on behalf of how important it is. But yet again, I just acted out my own human flaws. It's a forever work. But the way it's diminished my mental acuity or clarity and energy and function, it's just become that much more profound for me that this is a path, a serious path I need to take for the rest of my life. And they want full control to where we can't even obtain natural things out here. Why are they spraying it out here, folks? They're directly attacking even natural sources. Natural, holistic farmers. All the organizations. It's like they want to demonize whole milk. And you got to follow all the all these regs, but they want to give you and force and take away your right of even choice regarding an experimental freaking bioweapon jab. All those people advocating on my rights too regarding children. Are you freaking kidding me? My body, my choice. Well, what was your stance regarding the shot? Your thoughts are not yours alone and organic to you. They've been injected into your brain, and through propaganda, through peer pressure, through your work, they've infiltrated everything to our society now.
Says what? He said it. He meant it. He's doing it. And it's working.
He did mean it. They are doing it. And it is working. When you look at the actual numbers and the actual deaths now, the world death clock never went up during COVID, folks. Even with the murderous hospital protocols, because it kind of balanced out with so many people taken home. Car wrecks went down. All these other things went down. But inevitably it started going up. When did that spike start happening? It was during the vaccine bioweapon rollout, folks. The data is out there. Why are we lying to ourselves about it? And when you fully grasp it, you can't help but to do your duty and accept the level of responsibility you have as a man or woman to this country. Because whether you have children or not, don't you have anyone you care for in this life? Well, they're being attacked from so many different angles. Let's go, folks.
And people go, it's a conspiracy. What? That's like if Bill Cosby said, listen.
You know, this is pretty vulgar, but maybe this will break through. It's pretty gross. But we need more people. I mean, do I play? I don't even know. But analogies can be powerful. I don't freaking know.
If you drink this, I am going to you. And people are like, nah, you're not.
It's not
It's
funny.
a conspiracy theory. No, if you drink this, I will be in every one of your orifices by morning.
Okay, that's enough. But you get the point. We're literally not even taking them at their word. Gosh. Population control is something we're connected with in any way. Population control is not something that we're connected with in any way. When does his nose start growing?
You've long been a proponent about population control and how that is necessary for poverty alleviation and for growth, for development. Tell us the work that your foundation does with regard to gender justice, gender health, and poverty alleviation.
Well, the word population control.
See, they controlling words. He wants to backtrack that, but it's nothing shy of exactly. Once again, our common sense, folks. I like that she addressed, you know what, I'm done with this freaking liar, gaslighter, evildoer. It is not loving to genocide this world's population. Take away your ability to think for yourself. They've clearly been uber successful in doing just that. There's so much to dive into. Gosh, the weaponization of words. It's been unfathomable to the actual effect, and this has been far more effective than we've been able to grasp. Can we start coming to terms, humble ourselves to grasp it fully? I just reflect on some of them conversations I had with individuals that were even in the ICU. And at that stage, it was their remdesivir. Remdesivir failed. Let's pull it up. It's Ebola trial. Let's pull it up. Boom, from themselves. So one of the times I looked it up on the NIH, oh, boom, page you're looking for isn't available. What? I literally had to source it through this whole weird whatever, but boom, sure enough, here we go. 2 drugs reduce risk death from Ebola. It's what? So there's real other sources that dive into the specifics, graphs, charts, everything. But inevitably, they touch on some of the truth of it right here. About 50%, it was over 54% of the people who received ZMapp or remdesivir died during the trial. They had to pull it, folks. They had to pull it. Who is behind all this? Look at this right here. Quote, although effective treatments alone will not end this outbreak, they just weaponization of words. Independent infectious treatments for Ebola viruses, diseases, therefore, marked a significant step forward in improving care for Ebola patients. The director, he's not a doctor, he's a freaking mad scientist, Anthony Fauci. It's admitted right here overall. Right there. They died. That became the gold standard for our health services individuals. They were so heavily put into a box that they stopped practicing medicine. They infringed on patient rights. They denied actual life-saving care because it was demonized. They couldn't have their vaccine solution to this pandemic they created. If ivermectin and HCQ would have gained the proper attention it deserved, because those were legitimate solutions. There were doctors that had over tens of thousands of patients, most of them even being high risk in cancer and elderly, and not one of them died. And other doctors, it was such a low percentage. Like it basically was just the normal rate of death for life, because it happens. It's a part of this existence. But they saved 97, 98, 99% of their patients through basic remedies, basic things, zinc, vitamin C, vitamin D, ivermectin and HCQ, basic things. Hospitals were nowhere near that. And it saddens me, the individuals to this day that work in the ICU and stuff like that, they still just believe. I mean, think about their environment. How it literally was weaponized. Like they all were feeding each other the same regurgitation, the same everything. And they stopped practicing medicine. People were murdered for money. There should have been zero incentivization. And in certain countries, in certain states right here in this country, we're receiving money in excess of $300,000, even in excess of $400,000 for positive COVID patients' deaths. There's so many reports as to malnourishment. They weren't even getting the proper water they requested. Upwards of 5-8 hours or days later, they were malnourished. So many reports. Now, does it mean all of them? No. Does it mean all the people that were engaged in this, their heart wasn't in the right place? No. But they gave up their own discernment in practicing medicine and speaking up. People were shamed, blamed. And then not just patients, not just their families that tried showing up in helpful ways, but also a lot of the nurses and doctors within those institutions got shamed into just, here's your box protocol. This is it. This is all you do. Remdesivir became the gold standard and we're surprised. It just fed into the hype. They needed more numbers. They needed more deaths. They needed this epidemic to gain enough momentum that we were forever lined up, that there were vaccine passports. It's all control over your mind, your body, your spiritual, your free agency, your freedoms, your rights. It's time to speak it for what it is. There was, it's probably going to be a ways on down, but there was an amazing nurse, good footage being captured. Was it? I don't know if I'm going to pull it up in time before I run out of buffer things to even say. It might have actually not even been on this platform. So, all right, I'll get prepared. I'll find it for you folks. But there were a lot of amazing doctors and individuals that stood their ground, got escorted out. And I would like to champion those individuals. If you have anything to share on this topic, please reach out to unmuzzledchat@gmail.com. It's dark. It's ugly, but it is what it is. And we must do what we can. We can't let evil spew into our minds as though, what difference are we going to make? That's not a thought from our loving Creator. It is paramount that we show up on behalf of love and get to the bottom of all these things for not just our loved ones, but for all of God's children. That being said, folks, I appreciate you. I appreciate all you actually, in fact, do. My only prayer with this episode is that somehow or another we touched someone's heart or ramped someone up enough to get that much more engaged. I do not want anyone to discredit the impact that you yourself could have. Let's do the Jesus is Calling. Let's wrap up this episode. I, after all, do need to move camps today. I had a neighbor move in, and it doesn't seem our dogs are going to get along. Or near here. So anyway, it's just that time. I'm grateful for this opportunity we all have. I hope we seize it. September 12th states, receive my peace. It is my continual gift to you. The best way you can receive this gift is to sit quietly in my presence, trusting me in every area of your life. I get that it can be hard to trust a God that's so loving and allowing all this carnage because he's a God of free agency. But he's there to give us the clarity, give us the peace, give us the path forward in what actually matters in fulfilling your purpose in this existence. States my presence, my presence, trusting me in every area of your life. Quietness and trust accomplish far more than you can imagine. It's true. Not only in you, but also on earth and in heaven. When you trust me in a given area, you release that problem or person into my care. Spending time alone with me can be a difficult discipline. Truly, it can be. Because it goes against the activity addiction of this age. That's a great acknowledgement right there. And it could lead us to a humbling, to benefits we can't fathom. You may appear to be doing nothing, but you actually are participating in battles going on within spiritual realms. You are waging war, not with the weapons of the world, but with heavenly weapons, which have divine power to demolish strongholds. Living close to me is a sure defense against evil. No comment. Did amazingly right there. Challenging you to check out these biblical references. We have John 14:27, Isaiah 30:15, and 2 Corinthians 10:4. Powerful stuff. There was, in this Bible verse finder, accountability jumped out at me today in such a profound way. And I hope we grasp and look into right here the best roadmap for this very existence, being none other than the Bible itself. First one states, God will judge our work. God's the sole judge. And he gave us a clear path through Jesus Christ. The only narrow path there is to true salvation and why we're here. That one is 2 Corinthians 19:5-10. Sin has consequences. Ezekiel 18:20. I feel impressed to state that sin is doing anything or the lack of anything you do that you can't do full-heartedly, I believe, is sin. So anything you don't do that you feel impressed to do, I also believe is sin. And sin has consequences. If we don't show up out of love on behalf of our brothers and seize this opportunity right now, I do personally believe that to be sinful. And not in a shame, blame, or guilt type of way. It's your life to live. It's your choice. God gave that to you. But what will you do with that? That's why we're here, folks. God will hold us accountable for our sin. Ezekiel 18:30. We are accountable for every word that we speak. Matthew 12:36. Confronting others with their sin should be done in private. Matthew 18:15. I'll have to be sure to do even better at that. It's on an individual basis. Yeah, we don't want to cause trauma, trigger, hate, in all the bad things in this life. We should hold each other accountable. Luke 17:3. That's a powerful one. And I full-heartedly agree. God holds Christians accountable. Romans 14:11-12. God will reward Christians for their good deeds. 1 Corinthians 3:8. And lastly, God will examine our actions. 2 Corinthians. What was that, 5-10 or 5:10? I did have a few other ones just from the verse of the day. I like this, James 5:13. Are any of you suffering hardships? You should pray. Are any of you happy? You should sing praises. Ephesians 4:2. Always be humble and gentle. Be patient with each other, making allowances for each other's faults because of your love. And we'll end with this one. Proverbs 13:20. Walk with the wise and become wise. Associate with fools and get in trouble. Yes, that could inevitably lead us to trouble in this life, but more importantly, it could lead us to spiritual death. I'm excited. I'm so grateful for the individuals God has put in my life since challenging myself to an extent to fulfill what God set me on with this journey. This is such a humbling experience. I challenge you all to seek what He has in store for you. It does greatly. It's not even a comparison as to what we could come up with versus what He has in store. Let's get in tune with that. With that, I genuinely appreciate your support, your likes, your comments, and your shares. That's how we build momentum in this space together. Let's utilize these let's combine words, shall we? Let's utilize these free speech platforms while we're still able to. There's no guarantee that it's going to forever stay this way. They're fighting tooth and nail to get all this shut freaking down. Together we can ensure that doesn't happen. I love each and every one of you. I just want the best for us and our future and for the future of our children. Evil's running rampant. Let's be honest with ourselves. Let's acknowledge what's happening and the sense of urgency with the opportunity of now. God bless you. God bless America. Until next time, take care.